funded half of what you're gonna have. Requesting vehicles on surplus.
Oh.
So glad we have Melvin back.
We'll make good.
But he can't stay forever. I'm not confident we have a solution yet.
He knows the stuff, doesn't he?
Hmm?
He knows that program pretty well.
Oh, yeah. That job is cake for him.
That meeting was fabulous.
Other than getting kicked out of Zoom.
How many times should you have something? They want your money.
You know,
It just went
Sorry, I
gone.
got one.
I never had that.
And I heard you.
I know you're thinking about it, so.
Because you never,
Thank you.
you have an idea of what could happen with the meeting.
Oh, I know.
I'm not worried about
Yeah, because I got you.
that. I was just saying,
Another one? Jeez.
Now, I don't know her, but he told me that she does not start until later, so she's not an employee yet. So she's probably not going to be here until she's official.
Yeah. Where do you live down there, bro?
Please take your seat.
Petersburg?
All right. All right, let me see.
Frank, I want to form a committee to work on GIS. Can I make a motion to do that tonight? Can I add it to the agenda?
I would.
Yeah, but can the board has to commit.
Well, that's what I'm
We
saying.
can do that during comment period?
Do it during comment period.
Okay.
Yeah, do it then.
I didn't know we could make a motion during comment period. I mean, I've done it before, but I got. If you say it's okay.
Well,
It shouldn't be a long discussion. I just want to form a committee to go out and investigate it. Okay.
I'll take responsibility.
Okey dokey.
All right, are we ready?
Yes, sir.
Ready? All right, time 7:00, and I want to call the regular meeting of the Amelia County Board of Supervisors to order and declare the fact that we have a quorum, and thank those of you who come. Let us bow our heads for just a moment. Father, we thank you for an opportunity to come again and to do the work of the county. We thank you for those who have come. We thank you for life itself. So ask that would bless us and give us your divine guidance as we do our deliberations, and trusting that whatever we do is going to be not only beneficial to our county and its residents, but also for the uplifting of your kingdom on this side of Jordan. We ask these blessings in your Son Jesus' name and for his sake. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you very much. Let us all stand and repeat the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, if we will. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much. Oh, we've got the agenda before us. Is there a need to amend the agenda?
Yes, sir, if we could, we've got 3 issues that you've received some information on declaring vehicle surplus. Public Works would like to declare those 4 vehicles, a Dodge Intrepid, Crown Vic, Taurus, and 2 Taurus as surplus so they can be disposed of. We've gotten some information from the Commissioner of Revenue about an adjustment that needs to be made on a tax assessment. And there's a possibility that Connie Maslow from the Powhatan Free Clinic will show up, and she would like to speak to the board. It was probably going to be information I was going to deliver during the county administrator's report, but I think it'd be better to have her on the agenda if she shows up to give to you directly. So those three things.
Okay. All right, then, can I get a motion to approve the agenda with those amended items?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Got a motion for discussion on the motion. Not all those in favor, let it be known by the usual sign of aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it, the motion is carried. Item number 2 on the agenda is that of the approval of a set of minutes. We've got the minutes of the August 12th, 2020 special called meeting. We've got the minutes of the August 12th, 2020 workshop that we had. We also have the minutes of the August 19th, 2020 regular meeting of the board. And we had the August 26th, 2020 minutes of the continued meeting that we had. These minutes were included in your agenda, in your budget packet. Hopefully you've had an opportunity to look at those and to check them out. Questions or comments? What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve as a block.
Got a motion to approve the minutes in block as indicated. Further discussion on the motion? Not all those in favor, let it be known by the usual sign of aye. Aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, the motion is carried. Item number 3 is the approval of August financial reports. You had included in your packet also, a booklet also, the treasurer's accountability report, the revenue reports, the expense reports, and the accounts payable reports. These reports were included in your booklet. Hopefully you've had an opportunity to look at those. Questions or comments from board members?
Mr. Chairman, I just have one comment. I don't think we have CARES Act on the agenda today, but I just want to comment that we've got the updated spending for that in there. We did make one change that's not reflected on the page, and that's for the category that's listed as fire and rescue to call it public safety category, to be a little bit broader and flexible. And we're still making good progress on spending there with additional work underway.
All right. Other comments? What's the pleasure of the board?
Move to approve as a block, Mr. Chairman.
Got a motion to approve those minutes as a block, those financial reports as a block. Further discussion on the motion? Not all those in favor, let it be known by the usual sign of aye. Aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, the motion is carried. We're at the public comment period. Anyone who's here would like to come and make some comments for the board, please come forward, state your name, and make your comments.
Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Dawnette Williams. I'm a resident of Amelia County, Mr. Easter, or Supervisor Easter. Good to see you.
Okay.
I've done a freedom of, excuse me, those things, my voice is already loud enough. I did a Freedom of Information Act request based on the Ashman, AKA Grubb Hill property. I received all the emails except for yours, Mr. Harris, and I like that you're old school and you don't use email, because email can get you in trouble. My statements to the board, the first thing I would restate is the mission statement of the Board of Supervisors: to provide an open, responsive leadership to the County of Amelia and improve the quality of life for all, and I'm going to put emphasis on all citizens. Now, the board voted unanimously at the June meeting to put the Grubb Hill property on the market for sale at the appraised value. The property was appraised as of February 21st, off the top of my head. That appraisal came back at $630,000. June board meeting unanimously approved. And then notice was broadcast for a public hearing in July that discussed the same issue, the Grub Hill property. That was July 15th. July 16th, an offer to purchase the property for cash came in the amount of $630,000. Not 24 hours after that came in, there is traffic, email traffic, between everyone except Mr. Harris, questioning who's going to get the land. And the recurring
No, it did
theme,
not question.
don't interrupt me, sir, this is public comment, thank you. And the recurring theme was this, it's the Ashman property. Ashman. And Mr. Scott, coincidentally, you've mentioned Ashman about 5 times in the emails that I've received. And to me, Chairman, you had an offer of $630,000 cash. And then that went to the attorney, the county attorney, Mr. Gore, who drew up a deed. Mr. Ashman also gave the county a check for $500. Why wasn't that accepted? Because that was what the board wanted. And yet the board didn't do that. And now at this time, you're going to put it up for public auction because somebody offered you a cash deal that you don't want to purchase the land. That is not right for a myriad of reasons. There was another offer for $589,000. And that coincidentally was after the public hearing to market the property for sale. And there might be some differentiating comments about listing and marketing, but the county, under the laws of Virginia, can list for private sale, public sale, as long as they have a public hearing, which this county did. And you got an offer. And now, which this is really mind-boggling to me, the appraised value is $630,000. Now the county has employed an auctioneer, and the starting price of the property is $632,000, because $2,000 of that is going to go to advertising per the contract. I believe that there's an appearance of impropriety, and I think the board should take this very seriously. And Mr. Harris, you are the chairman of the board. There are certain rules and regulations that you have to adhere to. You are the final say. If you're not here, Vice Chairman Wyatt, he's the final say. I don't know why it happened, but you had a good faith offer and nobody took it. I don't know if it's discriminatory, maybe, but I think it's something for each of you to consider. And I think it's something for each citizen of Amelia County to consider. If we can't trust our leaders, who can trust? Thank you.
Right. Thank you for your comments. Thank you. Anyone else?
I'm Mary Alice Williams. I live in Jetersville. On follow-up comments that were just made, I have a friend that went to purchase a piece of property here in Amelia, gave the price they were willing to pay, which was $250,000. This was residential several years ago. The people that owned the property decided that they would rather have it be auctioned. They had the auction. The auction price only brought $175,000. That was going to be the highest bid. So this person who had originally offered $250,000, he came down to the $175,000. So they were losers on that end. They could have had $250,000, but with an auction, it was $175,000. So I just say, if you don't want to take this offer, how are you going to know that you're going to get that amount? How do you know you're going to get more? Or how do you not know you're not going to get less? So to me, it would be better to take, for the county's sake, get the money that the county wanted for the price of the property and be done with it. So just as there's an element of question here as to why you wouldn't do that. And thank you.
All right.
Good evening, everybody. I am not here to discuss land. I am here this evening to shed some light on a project that I am working for the community. It's called Light It Up Amelia Courthouse Style. Last Christmas, I was working on a project where I needed to incorporate spotlights, and in doing so, I thought, wow, the courthouse was absolutely beautiful all lit up. With the courthouse shining bright and the garden club trees sparkling away, it was like a scene from a Hallmark movie. That's when the idea was born, and just recently I decided it was time to take action. So here we are with a community project. I am here today to ask for the Board of Supervisors and community support to help make this project successful. To get the ball rolling and gain an idea of approximate cost, I've met with the owner of Virginia Outdoor Lighting based in Powhatan and received a verbal quote. I've also been in communication with Mr. Darrell Goff, the maintenance manager for Amelia County, and he is working on gathering some quotes as well. I've started a fundraiser page called Light It Up Amelia County Style. Did this go away? Oh, sorry. Amelia County Style, which currently has $720. The goal set is at $2,000. $2,000 is an estimated cost for the materials needed to complete this project. Any residual funds received will go towards Christmas decor for the town square, but that's another project. The approximate cost of the electricity once the lights are installed are around $2 to $4 monthly. I'm hopeful that all of the pieces of this project will come together prior to December, and I'm excited to see the courthouse all lit up as it should be. It's a beautiful part of the county. That's all I have. Thanks, guys.
You know you were on the agenda.
I did not.
That's okay. That's-
You know what? And you sent it. I thought I was public speaking.
That's all right, that's fine. but
So do I just stay here?
No, we'll get back to you.
Oh, I have volleyball. No. Thank you.
That's all right. Thank you. Anyone else?
I'm Bobby Lights, 1600 Richmond Road, Amelia Courthouse. I would like to come back to what was said before about the mission statement of the county. Do I need to read it again or, you know? Well, my issue is, Mr. Easter could probably answer this for me. What is the county's concept of good gesture?
Good gesture?
It's a good gesture. Well, a couple months ago, you presented to the board as a good gesture for Juneteenth holiday. As this says, for all the citizens of the county, how many citizens benefit from Juneteenth?
It's your comment period, not mine.
Not young. And what does it cost the county to do this holiday? Who benefits out of it? It just seems to me that last year the county voted to raise the taxes. Okay, everybody's paying more taxes, more money coming out of the pockets, hard times this year. But good gestures is not really affordable by the county when you got business like this to do. I'm not against anybody, anything, any benefits, but to me, this county board here is for all citizens. I don't care what district you're in. I don't know what part of the county you're from, makes no difference. Once you sit on that board, you for everybody in this county, not just for your district. And if it's something that benefits the whole county, it's not for you personally. You throw that out the window when you come in here. It's for the county. And that's my point. I think it was a little hasty, should have been figured out beforehand, but I would like to see good gesture if you would spend that kind of money. I've done a little bit of background on it. I have an idea what it's costing the county. And I think that money could go right into school if nothing else, fire department, sheriff's office, a good place for it to be done. That would be beneficial. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Knight. Anyone else? Anyone else? Going once? Going twice? I'll bring it back to the board. I'll close that portion of the agenda. And just to say this, the comments that have been made and that are made are not taken lightly. We're taking our notes and so it's not falling on deaf ears. Otherwise, it's not just an exercise in futility. In other words, I guess that's what I'm trying to say to you. Okay, we hear you. All right, bring it back to our agenda. Staff committees, organization reports, and presentations. We have the VDOT monthly status report. David Whitaker, Director of Planning and Zoning, will present the monthly status report of VDOT activities in the county. David? VDOT resident is here. All right. All right.
Hi, it's a way of introduction. My name is Rebecca Worley. I'm the new resident engineer at Chesterfield Residency, representing Amelia, Chesterfield, and Powhatan counties. I'll just go through the monthly report and then we can open it up to any questions or any introductions that you all need to make. So our maintenance area headquarters has been performing mowing over the last month, primarily on Route 360 in Amelia. They completed that cycle of mowing on Monday and are planning for their next round of median mowing, which will include the full cut of the medians. It's standard procedure for our maintenance best practices that for wide medians, 50 feet or greater, we cut 18 feet from the edge line. And so then at the end of the season, that's when you cut everything back, make sure we don't have any large trees or shrubs or things like that growing up over the off season. In addition, they've been mowing secondary streets throughout the county. We're approximately 40% complete with our second round of secondary mowing. In addition, they've been working on preparations for the snow season this year. So we're signing up new snow vendors for the upcoming season, inspecting their equipment, as well as preparing our own snow plans, breaking our county into zones so that we're prepared to send our contractors and employees out for that snow season. They've also graded and added stone to several gravel roads throughout the county and performed ditching and culvert and pipe cleanouts on a few roads as well. For traffic studies, the Route 360 arterial management plan is still ongoing. We have a meeting next week with the consultant who's performing the analysis to review the concepts and discuss the next round of public involvement. There will be an opportunity where we'll present the possible concepts to the public, likely in a virtual format in light of COVID, but we'll discuss that next week. I also wanted to mention that the secondary 6-year plan for secondary roads in Amelia County was not approved in July. As a result of COVID, we kind of put those secondary 6-year plans on hold until we could have a time where public involvement would be more easily established. And so I'd like to meet with the board possibly at a work session to discuss approving that secondary 6-year plan and maybe adding some projects to it. We've got a handful of unpaved roads in Amelia County still that could be potential candidates for projects. And I'm sure you all have ideas as well of projects that could be funded through that. We do have one permit that was issued for the limited access portion of 360 at Amelia Avenue. Segra, the contractor, will be boring fiber optic cable under the road there. There won't be any impacts to travel lanes as a result of that permit project. Some construction updates. The Route 360 bridge replacements over the Norfolk Southern Railroad, as well as 360 Business, will be awarded next week to a contractor. The contractors indicated they wish to start as soon as possible, and so we're anticipating a mid to late October start date for them now. As part of that project, each bridge will be replaced, one first with switching traffic from one direction as a way of detour, and then they'll do the next one after that. So traffic will still be able to move on 360, just reduced down to one lane in each direction with traffic crossing over. And that work should be complete by June 2022 is the current construction schedule. Route 681, Clementown Road, the bridge over the Appomattox River between Amelia and Powhatan counties was closed on Monday for bridge work. A detour is in place for that, which is a very similar detour to the one for the bridge replacement in Powhatan County on Route 13. And that bridge is expected to be reopened in spring 2021. Our resurfacing schedule is still underway. Some of our latex routes are almost completed, and 2 plant mix routes. There's an error in your report. We're not doing surface treatment on Route 360. It's plant mix, a 2-inch mill and fill on those 2 locations on 360. And with that, I will open it up to any questions or concerns the board has.
Questions from board members? All right, sure.
On the, you were talking about the standard practice for cutting grass.
Yes, sir.
Can we expect to see that practice in Chesterfield and Powhatan next year? I mean, will Amelia be the same? Because it hasn't been like that in the past. Not your fault.
Yeah, so the mowing 18 feet from the edge of pavement, it's a similar practice on 60 in Powhatan. We've been doing it this year as well. You won't see it as much in Chesterfield because the medians in general are not as wide in Chesterfield. There are some places where they are, but yeah, so, and I'll also just expand on next year. We've already put in place a contract. We're going back to contract mowing next year in all 3 of our counties. And so you can anticipate this past year in Amelia County, we've applied plant growth regulator on 360 to try to reduce the number of cycles that we cut. We've eliminated the plant growth regulator program. And so we'll not be doing plant growth regulator, and we'll be going back to 3 cycles of mowing under contract next season. So.
Ms. Worley, thank you for
Yes.
coming today and talking. I will say you've been incredibly responsive via email to our concerns and really appreciate that, and welcome to your new role. Other than grass,
Yeah.
I've also gotten a couple citizen comments that are concerned about the change at we call the Food Lion Shopping Center intersection with the flashing yellow lights.
Right.
I'm well aware that's not your personal decision and that was a pretty well a statewide change.
Sure.
But we do know that at places where it's been deemed a safety hazard, they've remained or gone back to the standard light sequences. Can someone look at the number of accidents that we've had since that change has been made, as well as, and I know this is probably harder to quantify, but the number of kind of near misses? I think people are becoming pretty concerned there, and similar concerns, but hasn't been voiced in this larger volume about the one at Chula as well.
Okay. Yeah, I know Mr. Scott had reached out to me. I think there was a crash there at Food Lion the beginning of the month. We're waiting. We haven't received the crash report for that yet from police. There's a little bit of delay for us to get those from DMV. But I had that on my radar once we had that crash report. So kind of do an analysis before and after that flashing yellow arrow.
Thank you.
Yeah, you plan to do an analysis of the whole section there to look at lowering the speed limit again?
I can pull the latest speed study for that area for the 55 mile per hour section. I don't think it's been too long since it was
No, it
last
hasn't been too
completed.
long, but the number of crashes and deaths has not risen enough to be considered. But with the flashing yellow lights and all the accidents that have happened there, I think it's something that needs to be looked at, not so
Okay.
much for the speed of the cars coming through the area, but just because of that flashing yellow light, if nothing else.
Okay,
That 10 miles an hour is a long braking distance.
sure. Yeah, so when we look at the flashing yellow arrow, we can certainly see if speed is a factor in those as well, and if there's a play between the two.
Okay, thanks. And I didn't have any questions for Ms. Worley because I had a long meeting with her and Kyle Bates when he brought her to introduce her to me.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you.
before us. Thank you. Next item under staff committees, organizations, reports, and presentations would be that of the Amelia County School Board. Dr. Harper.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Mr. Harvey. School has been in session for 4.5 weeks. It's hard to believe it's been that long already. Interim reports were sent home yesterday. Our enrollment through September 11th is 1570, with 58% of our students attending in a hybrid fashion and 42% attending virtually. Our current ADM is 1532. The school board appointed 2 seniors from our high school, Lauren Cox and Zola McQueen, to serve as student representatives to the board this year. We are also engaged with the Virginia Center for Inclusive Communities, or VCIC. They're based out of Richmond, and they work with schools, businesses, and communities to achieve success by addressing prejudices in all forms in order to improve academic achievement, increase workplace productivity, and enhance local trust. Through workshops, retreats, and customized programs that raise knowledge, motivation, and skills, VCIC develops leaders who work together to achieve success throughout the Commonwealth. Beginning in November and ending in March, Amelia County Public Schools will be hosting VCIC for staff workshops focused on unconscious bias, the cycle of prejudice, and culturally responsive teaching. In your board packets this evening, you have our financial reports and the 2020 August financial report. We've completed our second month in the fiscal year where revenues and expenditures should be approximately 16%. We are well below that with revenues and expenditures at 11.36%. Local funds may appear to be a little high. This is primarily because we collect Chromebook insurance fees at the beginning of the school year. You might also notice that state funds appear a little low. This is due to July and August sales tax payments that are accrued back into the prior year. We received notice from the Virginia Department of Education that we should anticipate a reduction in state sales tax funding for FY21 in the amount of $112,661. And our ADM is much lower than originally budgeted, so we expect state revenue will be below budget as well. We do not anticipate our revenue shortfall to exceed our FY20 carryover. You'll notice that technology expenses far exceed where we would expect them to be at this point in the fiscal year. There are 2 reasons for this. The first is that the vast majority of our software renewals fall in the beginning of the school year. These expenses are annual and certainly budgeted for. The second is that we bought new Chromebooks and tablets for students due to virtual and hybrid instruction. And these have been charged to the technology line, but will be billed to the county once CARES funds are made available. Our textbook revenue is $70,070.68, and our expenses are $22,495. And finally, under cafeteria revenue is received on a reimbursement basis. We operated 11 days in August, and you'll see a reimbursement on the September financials, $32,421.82. This reimbursement does not cover the expenses for August. Typically, August expenses exceed revenue for the cafeteria as we incur additional startup costs at the beginning of each school year. This typically levels out as the year goes on. As reported to you last month, we've elected to participate in the CEP program for the cafeteria, which allows us to feed all of our enrolled students for free at a reduced reimbursement rate. The Virginia Department of Education has just announced that the USDA has extended their summer feeding program, which will allow us to feed children in Amelia County for free from ages 3 to 18. And this will be at a better reimbursement rate. So on Monday evening, the school board voted to shift feeding programs to take advantage of the benefits of the summer feeding program. We anticipate changing programs in the cafeteria will result in increased reimbursement for both lunch and breakfast. USDA has only extended this program through the end of the calendar year, and we will participate as long as it's available. So that's my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Questions from board members?
I just have one quick question. You mentioned the CARES money being used for the Chromebooks, which we're aware of. You said once it's available. My understanding is the funds are already available for reimbursement now. So just maybe if you and Carly talk, if we're having any problem processing that through, just talk to Sean and I guess.
Okay, I guess she was waiting for something in writing so that we would then send
maybe it's
all of the
that
documents.
actually does make sense. It's probably
There's a
the
hearing.
change we're doing tonight. Okay,
Yes,
that makes
sir.
perfect sense. Thank you.
I'm encouraged with the report, especially in light of some of the other horror stories I've heard recently.
Well, we were one of
the
the first school divisions to open this school year and to open in a hybrid fashion. So, certainly been some challenges. We're still working out hotspot issues. There are more needs for that than we were originally told by parent surveys. So we're still working on obtaining more hotspots. And they're certainly expensive as we add more students, but we're working through it, and our staff is working very hard, and we're very proud of them.
Very good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Board of Supervisors Committee and Activity Reports, starting with District 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, when we started doing these reports, it was because constituents asked us to, because they wanted to know what we were doing between board meetings every month. Some people think we just show up here every 30 days and this is all we do. So I took it to heart and I started telling you everything I do for the next 30 days, but I get the feeling that it looks like I'm trying to show off or something because I have a long list every month.
That's all right.
So I thought we could try to figure out what level of detail we want for this. Or I can just give you my list again.
Give me your list again.
Okay. Right after our last month's board meeting, I attended a Nottaway Board of Supervisors meeting in support of Piedmont Senior Resources because we were trying to get 2 people appointed to the board and we were having a little trouble. So I went in support of that, and we did get the 2 people assigned. The next week, I participated in the interviews for the Economic Development Director position, and we had narrowed it down to 2 final candidates, and unfortunately made an offer to one and she declined, and the second person pulled out before we ever had a chance to make an offer. Also, the week I started a new VACO class on budgeting. It's a 8-week program on budgeting. The following week, I had a Workforce Development Board, 2 Piedmont Senior Resource Committee meetings, a nice meeting with Kyle and Rebecca from VDOT, and a Go Virginia Innovation Committee, Innovation and Entrepreneurship Committee, which I chair. Also attended a broadband Zoom meeting with Rep. Spanberger and the governor's broadband expert, Feynman, along with Mr. Harvey. He was in that too. The following week, I attended the IDA meeting, which Joseph and I are co-members of, supporting, representing the board, and a Board of Supervisors work session on that Wednesday night. And then this week, I attended a broadband update meeting. It's a weekly meeting that tells the status of what's going on with broadband in Amelia, which I just found out about last week, so I attended it this week. And also the Piedmont Senior Resources Board meeting last night, and this morning, the Commonwealth Regional Council Board meeting.
All right. I was in one of those meetings too.
Yep.
That's all right. All right, District 3.
Well, I do not keep that much detail, nor have I been to that many meetings, so I don't know how you keep up with it all. Joseph and I have attended several CARES meetings. The CARES, I think we'll talk about it later tonight, but that's going well. I think we're moving in the right direction, using the money wisely, and for things that the county really does need. I attended a library meeting. The library is open. They're probably back about, I would just estimate about 2/3 capacity of what they run pre-COVID. So I think that's good. People are using them for their resources, for the internet, as well as their computers, as expected. No complaints from them otherwise.
And he fixed my fender on my nice Volkswagen.
Okay, District 3.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I agree with Mr. Scott. I think the original intent of adding this item was because people had questions about what we do between the monthly meetings. Many of the meetings Mr. Scott mentioned, I was in as well. So I won't go through all the detail, but the IDA meetings, the VACO class, the CARES committees, as well as meetings with individual representatives, either of employees of the county or citizens. I would estimate that on average, it's 6 hours of meetings per week. That does include the public sessions as well as the other meetings, most of which are public, but I mean, not the two main workshop and regular meeting. And then on a given week, at least 4 hours offline, conversations, emails, reading, et cetera. A couple other comments I want to share. I would say the largest number of complaints I've gotten since taking office in January have been about broadband or internet service in the county. Don't think that'll surprise anyone. We've got obviously things we're working on. You heard the workshop last week. I know that TDS has actually been taking some action to improve the county, and yet there are many complaints. So I just want to share that I have reached out numerous times over the last several weeks and spoken, not just tried to get in contact with, spoken to several representatives at TDS, have asked them to share more information about what they have done and their future plans, and also asked them to come speak at either a workshop or regular meeting. And I am extremely disappointed that thus far they have provided no information nor been willing to speak at all. I should say they actually did offer to speak to us privately yesterday, and I said, I don't think, number one, that meets the legal requirements for a closed session, nor do I think that's in the best benefit of the citizens. So we will continue trying to work on that, and then we have several other options we're pursuing as well. Second, I know we're going to talk about this topic in a minute, but I do want to thank Crystal Holmes for spearheading a great community effort. I think that's that kind of thing is what we need to see even more and more throughout Amelia. And when I think about the type of things that make me proud to live in Amelia, it's the citizen-run efforts to either support each other or community activities like that. And then I want to close my comments with talking about some of the public comments we had earlier. Before I was elected, I think it was extremely challenging to watch in person or online with the public comment periods and feel like they got no response. And I committed that I intended to respond to people. You then get in this process and realize it's really tough to have a back and forth conversation from one side of the microphone to the other. So it is challenging to get individual responses there. All of us, though, do have our phone numbers and email addresses published and take many calls and emails per week. I do find it frequent that people who are expressing public concern have not reached out to us in advance, and I just want people to know we are available to do that. However, I also really appreciate people speaking up publicly, and there's no reason to diminish that. Just to make sure people know we're available. Unfortunately, as you hear from some of the comments tonight, it is impossible to make everyone happy. I don't think any of us went into these roles thinking that we could. And I think we do have to be very careful, though, about listening to the comments from vocal minorities and understanding that is not necessarily representative of what the majority of the citizens want. In fact, on both topics that were spoken about tonight, I received overwhelmingly positive feedback about how both were handled. And again, we will not make everyone happy. We continue to try to do our very best. We did acknowledge in the last meeting that we made some mistakes in the handling. And we are all here essentially volunteering our time, trying to do the very best that we can. On the Grub Hill Church land, I just want to specifically say that I'm very happy to support. We've had several FOIA requests for that. And I think that's a great option that people are taking advantage of. People know I'm supportive of transparency in government. That is one way to do it. I think it's also important to understand that when you receive all emails, you actually have more information than the board has itself. Because, for example, we've never seen the emails from the other people. At the same time, the FOIA requests do not contain all information because they don't have anything about what was said face-to-face or on the phone. So I would just encourage people to be careful about drawing conclusions because you have both more and less information than actually exists. And for Juneteenth, sir, I totally understand and I welcome you to have your opinion on Juneteenth, and we probably will end up disagreeing. But I do think that it is a benefit to the employees of the county. All employees of the county benefit from it. I think the employees of the county are some of the hardest working people that I know, and I will continue to do whatever I can to support them. There is no direct cost to the county for offering an additional holiday. And I think that it does show support for the citizens of a very large ethnic group within our county, and I'm proud to do that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. And my list would be duplicative to some extent of some of the meetings that have been held. I've had a meeting not only on broadband. I was there with Mr. Harvey last week on broadband, and PSR, I was there yesterday with Mr. Scott there. And most of my meetings come on the tail end of the month, though, because I've got a couple coming up. I have a CPMT meeting on tomorrow morning, which is a WebEx meeting, and then I've got the Virginia Tobacco Commission that's coming up the end of the month, and of course the money that we got to Virginia share, Amelia's share of the grant came from the Tobacco Commission that's dealing with broadband at the moment. Of course, we've also gotten some monies on some other projects also. So anyway, so we are busy, and let no man criticize his neighbor unless he's walked a mile in his moccasins. That's all I can say to you. All right, we're down to introduction of new county employees.
Mr. Chairman, we've got a new employee, but she didn't start yet, so we didn't ask her to come until she's actually on our official payroll. That is corrected, and Mr. Whitaker, if she didn't just show up to. Yeah. So none tonight.
Okay, all right. Under old business, we have the Crystal Home Courthouse Lights Project.
Deja vu.
Yeah, that's all right.
Okay, I'm back. I don't know if y'all want me to go through my whole spill again or take on questions.
See whether board members have any questions. You gave a good presentation.
Thank you.
Questions or comments from board members?
I shared my support. I've already contributed to the fund and hope.
And
that
I
many
appreciate that.
Hope that many citizens will.
Same here.
I've spoken
Okay.
to her offline about it as well. So.
How does one provide support?
So there are a couple of ways. A check would be good. I also have the PayPal account set up. What was it called? Light It Up Amelia County style. And you don't necessarily have to have a PayPal account. So you can just go in there and just put in your information and how much money you want to contribute, and you're good to go. So max out those credit cards.
But that would be some folk who would want to know how they could contribute.
Gotcha. Yeah, it was also in the Amelia Monitor this past week. Surprisingly, it made the front page of the paper. So the information is also in there. Mhm.
How far along are you to the 2,000?
We're currently at 720, and I've had a couple of businesses reach out, and they're going to potentially be sending checks. They were asking about tax write-offs and that sort of thing too. So. Anybody else?
All right. Thank you so very much.
You're welcome. Off to volleyball I go. Thanks, guys.
Next item on the agenda is that under conditional rezoning with conditions. Public hearing is being held on a conditional rezoning request for 32.11 acres from RR Rural Residential 3 to R10 with conditions. Planning Commission voted unanimously to recommend approval at its August 24, 2020 meeting. Mr. Whitaker?
You've covered most everything the planning commission went over. There was one person that did speak with concern. They may or may not be here tonight. And that was all that spoke. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have. Mr. Cox is here, who is the applicant, and I'm sure he'll answer any questions that you may have for him too.
So you might want to indicate, this is a public hearing that allows some input
Yes, sir. This is a
That's-
public hearing.
at this level, as a matter of fact.
Yes, sir.
Board level.
They can let you folks know what's on their mind.
Okay, good enough. Any board members have a question, any comments before I open the floor on the public hearing? All right, then I'm going to open the floor for comments from the public relative to this conditional rezoning with conditions that the Planning Commission held. Anyone who would like to make comments relative to that request, the rezoning request, please come forward and make your comments. Anyone who'd like to make comments on the rezoning request, please come forward and make your comments. Anyone who would like to make comments on the rezoning request, please come forward and make your comments. And then I'm going to go ahead and close it and bring it back to the board. David, what do we need to do here?
Determine disposition. If you want to make a motion to approve, disapprove, defer, or whatever comes to mind.
What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve.
All right, I got a motion to approve the Planning Commission's vote, which unanimously was to recommend approval of that rezoning request. Further discussion on the motion.
Mr. Chairman, may I make one comment before I support the motion, but just want to comment first? Following along with public comments earlier, one of the things that I hear from people is we don't explain why we're voting the way we're going to. I'll give you a preview. I intend to vote to approve this. I have gotten a call from likely the same person who spoke at the other public hearing, but I wasn't at that one. I'm basing that just on the comments in the report are almost the same. I just want to explain that I will be in support of this one because while it does actually convert currently agriculture land to homes, I do support property owners' rights. And if they choose to sell, I think that as long as it's within our current zoning allowances and consistent with our comprehensive plan, then I think we should support property owners' rights. And that while there was a comment about increased congestion, we have the reports from VDOT that show that the road can easily support that. And we're talking 3 homes, so it's a very, very minor change in traffic. There's comments that it will actually hurt the county's tax base. That's just frankly not accurate. It actually does result in an increase in taxes to the county. And said that it does not provide protection to adjoining land, but actually all requirements to protect adjoining land are being committed to, plus some additional things offered. So I think it meets all of our expectations, and I support it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right.
On the floor.
Further discussion on the motion. The motion is to approve. Further discussion on the motion. Not all those in favor, then let it be known by the usual sign of aye. Aye. Those opposed? Ayes have it, the motion is carried, the request is approved. Next item is that of a special event.
Create some normalcy for the kids. We've had parades in the past for homecoming, and we're going to have a similar one on the Same idea that they've done the one in the past. It's October the 8th, and we're going to use Wayside Avenue. And we're inviting the public. Once you guys approve it, we're inviting the public to attend so we can have some normalcy for the community and allow the kids to have some fun.
Excellent. Thank you for that. It's wonderful idea.
Any more questions?
Thank you for the
I have a
clarification.
comment, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I'd like to thank Mr. Wilkerson for both this parade as well as what he's done in Parks and Rec. We had a conversation the other day, and I believe you said that you've had 5 different activities open up since reopening. Some counties are not opening their Parks and Rec at all. And I'm proud of him, and I'm also happy that he stepped up and stepped out. I know how much he cares about our kids. I hope I feel the same way and project it. And I'm also very thankful for him doing this parade and like you said, creating some type of normal environment to our schools to help supplement to our children, to help supplement what the schools are trying to do. So thank you.
Thank you all. I just want to add one other thing to let you all know that the programs that you provided, some of that CARES money that you guys have provided for us has helped out. It helped out tremendously with basketball. We were able to get a bunch of hand sanitizers. When people walk in the building, no matter where they were, they could sanitize their hand, wipes, and that type of thing. So that money has been very beneficial to Parks and Rec. And I thank you guys for it.
Thanks for all you do.
You guys have a great evening.
Any other comments from board members? Resolution is included in your packet, so what we're doing is approving the resolution, correct?
I move to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Got a motion, further discussion on the motion. Not all those in favor, let it be known by the usual sign of aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it, the motion is carried. Item number 4 under that category, which would be item number 7 on the agenda, which does a public hearing and a resolution to accept CARES relief fund. Public hearing, this is a public hearing to approve the resolution to accept money that's been appropriated to Amelia for the CARES funding. Is that correct, Mr.?
Yes, sir. This grant is such a significant amount, it exceeds the threshold that we can just add to the budget without having a public hearing. So the purpose of this is to let the public know that we've got I guess it's $2.4 million. It's probably specifically in here, and $2.263 million that we're going to add to our budget. And we're going to appropriate it, and we're going to do our best to get it to the areas that it was designed for.
All right, and I need to open the floor for the public hearing.
Yes, sir.
I want to open the floor for the public hearing to hear comments from anyone who would like to make a comment on the county's receipt of those funds.
Speaking for the registrar's office, the Board of Elections, we've already applied and been approved for excess amount of funding and items that we need for the upcoming election. Now, does this mean that if we have additional needs and costs based on the state legislature passing that we have to provide postage on the mail-in ballots now? And right now, we've had 700 requests for mail-in ballots. Before, we were not allotted postage, required to put postage on the returned envelopes for the mail-in ballots. So do we need to resubmit another application?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Williams. You
may not have the answer to it, but
I do.
if we,
I do.
okay, go ahead.
I do. So the resolution is specifically just for us to accept the funds and adjust our budget for the county. There's a committee of which Mr. Wyatt and I are the 2 board representatives that meet approximately weekly to go through all of the requests that we've received.
Mhm.
We have not received enough requests to use all the funds yet. So if the Registrar's Office and Electoral Board have additional needs, please feel free to send those requests on through. Carla Cave is coordinating those requests for us. So just send her requests for what you need. We'll review to make sure they meet the criteria. Everything you described, I think, should meet the criteria, but we'll check just to make sure, and we should be able to get you back an answer. I think some things already have been approved. We need to maybe reconcile that.
Yeah, we've already been approved for 59,000, and which will be additional laptops and the roll books, and a couple of our voting machines needed to be updated. But that was before the state legislature has made all these additional requirements and costs that will be related to the election.
Yeah, we still have a good bit unspent, so feel free to submit those through. I don't anticipate a problem with that.
Okay, and I have to say, this is off the record, because I mean, I'm the chairman of the Board of Elections, but they didn't, authorize me to make these comments. But based on that information, I just wanted to see if we need to make an additional request.
Perfect.
Okay, thank
Good
you.
question. Then I'll just say maybe it's a good time to put a plug in that the committee has approved $45,000 in grants to local Amelia businesses, and we have begun issuing grants for individual citizens. The applications for both are on the county's website, or if you were to call into the county administration office, they will happily direct people. There are at least 3 programs now that citizens and businesses are eligible for, and we have not come anywhere near reaching our cap on amount to give out. So we encourage people to take advantage of those federal funds that have been issued for Amelia. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
it's a little bit off the subject, but while we have Ms. Williams here, have you heard anything about a Microsoft grant for electoral offices? I heard about it this morning at the CRC meeting. Microsoft has awarded grants for every county in Virginia.
I haven't heard anything about it, but we're having a lot of instruction on improving our security with our technology, with our computers, and I will ask the registrar tomorrow.
Okay, because I was going to write to her, but if you can take a tour, I'd appreciate it.
Oh, that would be wonderful. Okay, because we're trying to take advantage of everything, because all the new things that they want have a price tag with them. So,
Okay.
all right, thank you.
And they won't be tied to the CARES Act restrictions. This is money that they're just giving each county.
Anyone else who'd like to speak on this this hearing, public hearing? All right, I'm going to close the public hearing and bring it back to the board. You've got a resolution approving the acceptance of the federal CARES coronavirus relief funds and appropriating revenues for the purposes set forth therein in the resolution. What's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve.
Got a motion to approve the resolution to receive the funding. Further discussion on the motion? Not all those in favor, let it be known by the usual sign of aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it, the motion is carried. Item number 5, which will be item number 8 on the agenda, an amendment to the Industrial Development Authority Ordinance is being requested to change the name from IDA, Industrial Development Authority, to that of Economic Development Authority.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I think it's just as simple as it sounds. It's a simple name change. The ordinance was drafted by the county's attorney. I think Mr. Scott or Mr. Easter might be able to address some of the reasons why this is beneficial, but it's very simple.
All right, I think we're drawing straws on who explains, but yes, it is literally that simple. It is a name change only. However, the name change does reflect the growth in what we see the committee or the authority doing. When originally created back in, I think, 1981, it was rather limited and focused just on industrial development. However, the same laws from the state allow for greater expansion. And we do see a lot of positive activities from the current IDA on broader economic development around Amelia. And we just want to make sure the name is reflecting their true intent and scope of their work.
So we need a vote?
Ready for it.
All right, move to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Had a motion to approve the name change from IDA to Economic Development. Further discussion on the motion? Not all those in favor, let it be known by the usual sign of aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it, the motion is carried. Item number 6, which would be 9 on your agenda, is that of Amelia County Infectious Disease Preparedness. Holly Steele will present a plan to implement mandatory health and safety requirements established by the Virginia Department of Labor and Industry.
Well, surprise, y'all only get me for a second, and then
That's
I'm
all
gonna
right.
toss it to Kent Emerson to take over.
That's all
But I'll give a quick introduction of what it is. So the IDPR is the Infectious Disease Preparedness and Response Plan. This is a state requirement. All localities are doing it. We were lucky enough, our insurance company sent us a template to work from that was adapted specifically for local governments. And with that, it goes through our process for returning to work and what happens if you're exposed to someone who has the virus. And it also comes with assigning a level of risk to all employees in the county. But I'll let Kent dive into that a little bit more of what the plan entails and what our training program has looked like.
All right. Kent?
Good evening. I don't think this is going to require any action from you all. It's really just to make you aware. As Ms. Steele mentioned, this is a requirement from the State Department of Labor and Industry based on the emergency temporary standard for COVID-19 that was enacted by that agency on July 27th. The plan is one piece of it. There's a training component as well that needs to be completed by the end of September. And we were just letting you all know that this has been done, and the training is well underway. It should be completed by the end of this week. This is like any other OSHA type standard that you might expect to see as far as an employer would be required to do.
Right.
And it does not change anything in the stance that the county has taken since March. Does anybody have any additional questions?
I do. I already asked this question to Ms. Steele offline, but I just think it's helpful for everyone to hear the answer. So my understanding is this plan applies only to employees who work under the county administrator's office. It does not apply to school employees, sheriff's office, treasurers, commissioner of revenue, library, et cetera. Can you just confirm that and then tell us what y'all's plans are to share them? Because I actually think you're doing a really nice job and I want people to hear that.
Everything that you said is correct. I specifically have worked with the sheriff's office, the treasurer's office, commissioner of revenue, and the Department of Social Services. They are taking our plan, doing their own hazard analysis on their employees because they are the experts in that area. And they're going to use the same training program that we are. And the training program, again, came straight from our insurance carrier, VACOR. So
Thank you. I just think that's great. I
They
think
can
that's
tag
great.
on to what we're doing.
Yeah, you can't do it for them, but I think it's great that you're giving them a jump start with the forms, the training. I heard you're recording the online training even so they can just reuse it as well. I only have one other question on it. So it's pretty detailed, which makes sense if it came from the insurance company kind of originally. Some of the steps are extremely specific, like all these questions that are asked of every employee every day when they enter the office. Do we have confidence that we're then executing each one of these steps?
I would have to say that that's the responsibility of the individual employee to be able to answer those correctly. I can't speak for all the supervisors, and I don't have any people that directly report to me, so I can't comment on that. But my assumption is that it's up to the employee to truthfully answer those before they come to work.
I agree. I happen to agree with you on responsibility. I think maybe we want to look at the language though to make sure we're consider our liability, because like one of the sections says the county of Amelia screens employees on a daily basis. So I think as it's written, it says that it's our responsibility. And I think we just want to be really careful we don't sign ourselves up for something that is not necessarily necessary. By the way, it can be done exactly like you described. I just think we check the wording a little bit on it. That's all. Thank you.
Other questions?
Does that say every employee every day, or is that just returning employees that were sick?
It says on a daily, it's
Yeah,
the
there-
daily screenings
what's the-
for prevention. It's every employee daily.
What's the little paragraph above that say?
Well,
I don't have it in front of me, but
this starts a new that sentence starts a brand new section, number 2, called
Yeah.
daily screenings.
okay. I don't have it with me.
I mean, if I'm misreading it, that's fine too. All I'm saying is, can we check? We don't have to vote to approve it. I'm just saying, let's just
I
check.
understand
that,
your concern.
Make sure we feel comfortable with that. That's all.
I understand your concern.
And I don't need follow-up on that either. I trust you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, item 7, which would be item 10 on the agenda. County Planner Holly Steele will give an update on the ordinance codification
Yes.
project.
So you'll see in your packet, Elaine Kelly with General Code provided us a status update of where we are with the codification of our ordinances. So item number 1, the code product launch was completed on the 17th of August. She has item number 2 of Gen Code to post legislation on the eCode 360 platform. When this was sent out, that was in progress, but actually Monday afternoon, this took place. So our ordinance is posted on their website and it is on ours. At this point, though, it's important to remember they just posted what we have sent them. You'll see the next couple of steps say organizational analysis and editorial and legal analysis. That's essentially, they're going to go through and make sure that our ordinance, the order makes sense. And that it's logical to follow. And the legal analysis is to make sure that nothing in our code goes against what the state statutes say. So we still have a long way to go until we have our final product. But what they've done at this point has put our existing ordinance into their system. So it's accessible to everybody. And we can keep giving you updates as we get more from Elaine. But if you all have any questions at this point, I'm happy to answer for you.
So on this list, so where does that go down to? That includes steps 2 and 3?
No, so we just completed step 2.
Okay.
And staff is going to be trained on Friday morning on using general code so that we're familiar with that. But number 3 is still in progress. The organizational analysis is where they're going to go through and make sure everything's in logical order. And they have it grouped into chapters or drawers. So they're just making sure everything is where it needs to be. So that is likely to change. And David and I have looked through it, and some things do need to be tweaked around and put in different places. So that's the next step in the process. And Elaine has made it very clear. We'll probably go back and forth a few times with this until we get it right.
Mr. Chairman. So who from the county is involved in interfacing with Elaine?
I'm the main point of contact with Elaine, and then Brenda gets copied on all of our correspondence.
Okay, because it seems in the 2.5 years I've been on the board, every suggestion for a change to an ordinance has come from the commissioner of the revenue. So I think she might be a valuable resource in this process.
Yeah, they're going to give us that feedback once we get to the steps 5 and 6. We'll be getting feedback from them
Okay.
on that.
Okay. They, I assume, is both the treasurer and the commissioner of revenue. They probably both have the most feedback, would be my guess. Is that right?
I can't see.
Can
I haven't
how about
gotten
this? Can we just
feedback
make sure
from
the
them.
treasurer and the commissioner of revenue's offices both are well involved?
Sure.
Because
Mhm.
they've both requested it. If
Yeah,
I add the
of course.
days up on here, and I granted they're, up to or within X number of days for each step, it's a total of 540 days. So it would take up to 18 months. Do you think that's a reasonable timeline, or is this overly broad?
I don't know that it will take that long. It's all just going to depend on how responsive they are with our back and forth once we get into the editing process. I think on our end, we can get back with them pretty quickly. I don't know what their workload looks like. I haven't worked with them before coming here. So I'm not sure how quick their turnaround is. I know they are very responsive and seem to be following all their self-imposed deadlines thus far. So I would imagine they would continue doing that. But that's something when we talk with them on Friday, we can ask if this 18-month timeline feels pretty firm or longer or shorter.
I don't have an opinion, by the way. I was just curious on, is that what we should expect?
Right.
I can see them in some of those, like you say, it takes getting feedback back from us, but the Treasury and the Commission Revenues offices are coming into their really busy period too.
Sure.
So it could take a while for internally for us to get the feedback.
Right.
And last one is just a request at an upcoming, just in the next couple of months, workshop of the board, could we get like a 20-minute demo of what this looks like and kind of what the results it's
Yeah,
producing for
I
the
can reach
county?
out to Elaine about that.
At whatever point in the project you think that's ready to share something.
Yep.
Thank you.
In essence, so you're the point person on this.
Yes.
That's good. Okay. All right. Other questions or comments from board members? Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay. Item number 8, which would be number 11 on your agenda, included in this is the Baker-Tillery Salary and Classification Study. The study was included in our booklet, is a contract for the salary and classification study.
Yes, sir. We included that contract, so everybody could take a look at it and get an idea for what's upcoming. Yesterday, there was a WebEx or Zoom video conference with Jama, J-A-M-A McClung, and Jada Kent. They're the two point people for Baker Tilly that are handling this. The thing that came out of that meeting, we got a little idea about their kickoff. They're going to have another meeting as soon as they can arrange it, probably next week, for the department heads, agency heads, and constitutional officers to sort of get the once-over as to how the process is going to work. And then they're going to immediately follow that up with meetings with the employees, and they're going to issue surveys. That's how they get started on their evaluation of positions and whatnot. So it did seem like it's going to be up to us to really encourage the employees to give a really detailed report back as to what they do. The other thing that comes out of it is these reports that come from the employees, they go to their supervisors. And the supervisors are going to read over them and make sure that everything is right, whether it's the employee feels they might be a little overloaded or underloaded or what. It's not anything where we're going to be going after each other. We're just trying to get as much information as possible. So that it sounded like that once they get their dates together, they were going to offer us 3 or 4, and we were going to send those out to the different department heads that were going to be part of this first wave. So that's where Baker Tilly is.
Okay, questions, comments?
I got a question again. Sorry, I spent a lot of hours reading these things and writing down my questions in advance. I know we've talked in the preparation for this about, obviously it includes all of your employees. Can you just run down what other groups have opted in? I know we gave them an option to opt in, but like, I think the sheriff's office didn't need to because they've already done their study. Who is opted in?
I think Mr. Whitaker is
Sorry.
with
Great.
that.
We've done a major data dump of all constitutional officers, the library, and us into this thing. Doesn't sound like we've done much, but behind the scenes, the supervisors have filled out monsters load of Excel spreadsheets of who works for who and what they do and how they do it and all kinds of stuff. So all the offices, they didn't give an opt-in or an opt-out. I asked them for it and they provided it. So everybody's playing in this game.
That's wonderful.
So I think we're going to have something decent when it's done. It's going to move fairly quickly. The feedback I got from the heads up email I sent out yesterday to supervisors, constitutional officers are, we're looking for this. Let's get the dates. Let's get this going. Everybody wants to see if they're getting paid right. So I think it's a win-win on this whole thing.
Oh, I do too. I'm very
Yeah.
excited about this effort. So it would be anyone then that's getting paid through the county administration.
Mm-mm.
Like, that's what I want to clarify. So like the schools are not included.
The schools are not part of this.
And they did their own thing, so that
They
makes
do
sense.
their own
Like
type of thing.
court employees,
The
many of
courts,
them are paid directly by the.
we're looking at the positions and the compensations for it, whether they're being paid for by the county or by the state. We answered the question to Baker Tilly, because some of our employees are percentage employees
Yeah.
are paid by each
Yeah.
section. Carla's going to provide that information as we break each job down.
Great.
So
All right. And then just for clarity, that includes social services then too, because while they're
social
reimbursed-
services is basically a state-run thing, and we do some other stuff with them. They were not included in this just because of the complexity of what they do and how that organization is set up.
And that's fine. I just want, there's been a lot of conversation about this year, how excited people are. So I just want to make sure I have a good, clear understanding. Thank you for that, Mr. Whitaker.
When it's all said and done, folks need to be aware that not everybody is underpaid. There
Right.
may be some folks that come back overpaid and they might have their feelings hurt.
So, Mr. Whitaker, when is the meeting going to occur? I know you sent out a heads up email, but
I told them in the next few weeks, we'll have something coming. I sent that right after the Baker Tilly meeting yesterday. They have not responded with plausible dates for themselves, which I imagine will be next week. So, and they're going to give us a smattering of either 3 to 5 dates to pick from to make sure I can coordinate everybody in a timely manner and not just pose this thing at 5 o'clock on a Friday afternoon that, hey, Monday morning at 10:52, you need to be online.
because this is a very busy time of year for both the treasurer and the commissioner.
They
of
can
revenue.
make time. We're all busy, Roger. Their schedules are no heavier than ours.
Tax time
And
they are,
they're no
sorry.
more special than anyone else. And I'm taking that back to the previous thing about the ordinances. What we're doing with the ordinances doesn't require their inane adjustment or attention at this point in time. We're taking what's in existence as of a specific point in time, and we're working out from that. So infinite and detailed involvement is not really critical yet. It will be once the whole thing's put together, but not at this point.
All I'm asking is you respect people's time and give them as much notice as possible for the meetings.
We do that in both directions.
All right. Thank you. Item number 9, an application has been received to hold Fright Fest each weekend in October 2020 at the Tom Scott Park from 6 p.m. until 12 midnight. The application was included in your packet. Questions or comment? Is there anything else that needs to be added there?
Just one comment on this. In the past, they've done a haunted house and a haunted trail.
I was gonna
The
say.
COVA separation and stuff will not allow for the haunted house, so they're only asking for the haunted trail this time.
Right.
And it's each weekend in October until Halloween.
Okay. Application looks self-explanatory as far as I was concerned.
Move to approve, Mr.
Got a
Chairman.
motion to approve the request for that activity. Further discussion on the motion? Not all those in favor, let it be known by the usual sign of aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it, motion is carried. Mr. Harvey, will you take us through the amended items now?
Yes, sir. The first one up would be the request for 4 automobiles to be declared surplus: 2001 Dodge Intrepid, 2011 Crown Vic, 2014 White Taurus, and another 2014 White Taurus. If we can get a declaration of surplus, we'll go ahead and have Darrell Goff and Public Works dispose of the property.
All right. Questions from board members? What's your pleasure?
Move to approve.
Got a motion to approve. Further discussion on the motion? Not all those in favor, let it be known by the usual sign of aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, the motion is carried.
Okay. I don't see Ms. Maslow in the audience, so I guess we'll see if we can get her here for the next month. And then there was a third request of, I guess, permission to change tax assessment, or maybe not change it, but permission to rebate some money to landowner. We only have what came in on the email. If that's enough to make a decision with, we'll pass that information along.
All right, and that came from the Commission of Revenue.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's good. All right, what's the pleasure of the board?
I think her documentation was very clear. I move to approve.
All right, further discussion on the motion. Motion is to approve. Further discussion on the motion. Not all those in favor, let it be known by the usual sign of aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it, the motion is carried. We're at the
Mr.
county-
Chairman, I'd just like to say, I'm not sure how this happened, but it seems like a pretty substantial error to have been made by our assessor
For multiple years. too.
for multiple years. It's,
The important thing to me is that they caught it.
Well, they didn't catch it.
they didn't catch it.
They
I don't
didn't.
mean they, I mean all folks.
The property owner got it.
Well, I agree that it's important we're catching it. The Commissioner of Revenue did share with us all of us in email,
Yes,
multiple,
yes, she did.
multiple other errors from that
She did.
firm. I just think we need to be aware of it for the next time that contract comes up for renewal. Because it does have a direct impact on taxpayers, like in this case, having paid multiple thousand in error over several years.
All right, we're at the county administrator's report.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, got a big number here for waste management. The host fee check for August of 2020 was $302,887.15. And Patty told me that was the largest that we've had.
Yep, it is.
So I didn't go back and verify that, but
Carla's spreadsheet in our budget said there was a month in 2017 that was, I think, 370,000.
A little bit better.
It was bigger. Maybe not 70, but it was more than this because I looked at it.
okay,
Still really large for the average, yeah.
okay. Then the CRC has submitted their August 2020 items of interest. If there's anything on that list that anybody would like discussed or elaborated on, I'll do my best, or maybe Mr. Scott could. Then the DMV Select report for the month is in. And it looks like we were compensated $3,239 for by DMV. Nothing from Game and Inland Fisheries, but and a little bit for Easy Pass. So that was the July statement. Then we've got Columbia Gas of Virginia. This was an order for notice and comment with the State Corporation Commission. This was provided to you as an informational item. And Mr. Gore is here virtually. If anybody's got any questions, I think he might be able to answer that, or I'm sure he would try. And then we've got a letter from Feedmore thanking us for the contribution. We don't get these kind of letters from every agency that we fund, so we decided to include that. And that is the last thing that I have, except for to ask, what's the pleasure of the board so far as topic for the next work session? I think Glenn will be ready with Parks and Rec. We said tonight we wanted a 20-minute update, but I think that might be a little early on the codification. But is there anything else that we need to get to work on?
Ms. Worley mentioned coming to talk to us about the revenue sharing.
Okay.
She didn't, sounded like she's ready, but I don't know if that date works for her or not.
She can be ready because I talked to her about it.
Okay.
She could be ready.
So would that,
Rebecca Worley from VDOT.
so that would be a session to sort of go over the process. It wouldn't be we're not talking about a public hearing for the different projects specifically, just an overview of the project?
That was what I understood her to say.
Okay.
It's an overview of the projects, and she also says there's some money that's left over that we need to decide what to do with, spend it on something else or carry it over. So,
Unpaved roads.
yeah, unpaved roads and
Yeah,
things.
so we won't be able to make a decision, a vote on something during that, but we can talk to her and give feedback, and that's the way I'm thinking of it.
You said during the comments.
Yeah, she said today.
Yeah, the 6-year plan has a lot of money attached to it, and since it didn't get funded last year, there's going to be a lot of talk and stuff to go over, and there's some roads out there that could need some upgrading from dirt to the rural rustic or even better, and that's what she was alluding to. Yeah, I asked her to make a list of all the remaining unpaved roads in Amelia so we could
And
prioritize.
there's quite a few of them. However,
Yeah.
a lot of them don't meet the minimum
Right.
requirements. And that's what she's alluding to. And there's some bridge projects out there that a lot of the 6-year money goes towards those bridge projects. So without having done it, because we didn't even have a formal workshop at my level this past year. So there's a lot of catching up that needs to be done on that. And you probably need to reappoint a new roads committee because Ralph and Carol are gone, so.
Yeah, that's true. I just think the more time we spend with VDOT, keeping tight with what they're doing, and the better. Yeah, I know.
Unlike in the past with other jurisdictions, we do get along quite well with VDOT. We've reaped a lot of benefits because of that.
Yeah.
One thing to keep in mind too, the 6-year plan is historically an October issue, so we're right on time for all of that.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman, that's all I've got then.
All right, red board comments. District 2.
Yeah, I just had 2 things I wanted to bring up. Number one, I was asked by one of my district constituents to bring up the fact that the census is coming into an end early and our response rates are not as great as they should be. So if we could all talk it up, post it, whatever we have to do, put it in the paper, we need to get people to answer the census. There's some people going around in the county collecting information, but it would just be so much easier if people could go online and do it rather than wait for someone to knock on their door. The more we reply to this, the more money we get, the more people we count, the better it is for our budget. So I hope we can get more people to sign up. The second thing I wanted to do was I'd actually like to make a motion that we form a committee to go off and investigate and formulate a GIS strategy for the county. I've talked about GIS before, and it's a mess, and it's not being used as much as it could be. It has so many more capabilities than we use. And I'd like to form a committee of not only staff, but stakeholders, people who use it in the community, like realtors and other people. It's such a valuable tool if it's used properly. I know when we implemented it, we had a grant and it was put together, but it just hasn't been maintained the way it should be. And I think it's very powerful, and that we should spend some time, not so much money, but time to come up with a strategy and put together a plan and then bring it back for approval. So I'd like the board, make a motion for the board to form a committee, and I think Holly would be a good one to organize the committee. She has GIS experience, and it would be a good thing for her to chair.
If I'm not, I'm advised that we.
Yeah. I think it would be better, and instead of making a motion that's on something that's not on the agenda, can we just instruct the staff to get recommendations for a committee and a process together and bring it back to the board next month, and then we won't have a motion, official action that's off of the agenda or the amended agenda?
So we have to wait another month before we can approve the formation of the committee.
Well, we'd bring you something.
Can you bring it?
Could it bring it to the workshop maybe?
Bring it to the workshop.
Bring it to the workshop?
We can How about if we have a little session on this at the workshop, and then
Okay.
would that work?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. District 3.
I'd like to thank the schools for having us back here. I counted earlier when we first got here, and it was over 20 people at the beginning, which we would have had to legally turn people away at the courthouse. So I really appreciate them letting us use this big building so that everybody that wants to come can come. We don't have to turn anybody away and make them uncomfortable.
It's good. Thanks.
Okay.
District 4.
Only one brief comment. I got a couple people sending me messages during the meeting that the WebEx code, unfortunately I didn't see them till the end, but the WebEx code we've got published on the website was not correct. I think those codes change per meeting, and we have one document posted out there with static code. So I think we need to focus on getting that fixed for the next meeting. And I found that document, and I will admit I shared it this week because I thought it was accurate. It was hard to find on the website too. So I just think as we're in this pandemic and we continue to have more of the virtual attendance, I know we're getting better. I feel like every time we just got to keep working on getting it till we can get it perfect.
It's good.
But it was wrong somewhere because it was all.
I've been getting a lot of questions relative to the census also, and I've been instructing people to definitely fill that census out because there are advantages. I think it certainly outweighs the disadvantages. And I did get a couple of calls on a couple of requests that I think instead of mentioning them tonight, I'm going to get together with the chairpersons of the IDA and the other committees. I'm going to deal with the committee chairpersons before I shed light on it.
Okay.
I think I'll do that before. Anyway, I'm glad that those of you who came and trusting that we weren't too tedious in terms of getting through our agenda tonight. We're through the agenda.
We have a closed session.
Do we need a closed session?
I believe so.
Is there a need for a closed session?
I thought we had a topic for it.
We agreed at the work session, we'd do it tonight because we
Yeah,
wanted
we
to
did.
do it at the work session.
Correct.
Closed session. All right, then who's got the language?
I do. You want me to read it?
Go ahead, read it.
I move that the Board of Supervisors convene in closed session to discuss, as permitted by Virginia Code 2.2-3711A1, a personnel matter involving, consideration of interviews of candidates for employment or appointment.
All right, got a motion. Further discussion on the motion? Not all those in favor, let it be known by use sign of aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. We're going to closed session. And is there any action to be taken in case the news media, somebody want to?
No.
No action to be taken at this time. Okay, thank those of you.